You're listening to the Patriot Nation Podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation Podcast. Of course, this one an instant reaction to the Patriots' loss in Tennessee to the lowly, and I do mean lowly, Tennessee Titans. A lot of really fun stuff came out of this game from Drake May perspective, but that's about it.
Yeah, this game kind of had everything, good and bad. I mean, this could have been confused with a preseason game for the first three quarters, and then the final bit there was pretty entertaining with a lot of chaos happening. Things finally turned up a notch as the team started to figure something out. I think early takeaways are hard not to be impressed with Drake May. I know the stat line's going to say a fumble, 2 picks. I think all of those are his fault. You're asking him to be the entire offense on the road against solid defense when nobody else can do anything. So I'm not going to get too upset about it. We can get into it. I'm not going to get too upset about the picks. The rest of the team, the other 52 players, man,
Nope, 51.
Who's Marcus Jones?
Marcus Jones. Come on, man.
Yeah, fair. The other 51 players on this roster, I think I'll put it like this. With this team selling and looking to build for the future and the trade deadline a couple days away, I don't know if there's a single player that played their way into a position where the team would not be hearing calls on them today.
Not one. Christian Gonzalez, I think, is fine. So I have so many issues with so many things. Right. One of the things for me is that I have no idea what they're doing defensively. Absolutely no idea what they're doing defensively. You're playing against Mason bleeping Rudolph. Mason Rudolph. And you are sitting in off coverage? What the hell are you doing?
I don't get it.
That was disgusting. I have no idea what they were thinking there. And I get it. Maybe you were worried about stopping the run, or you're worried about your line. What I just like.
If you're worried about stopping the run, don't play off coverage.
Right. It makes absolutely no sense. It made no sense. You gave him tons and tons of time because you have zero pass rush. So that's defensively. Offensively, what the hell are we thinking? Starting the game with Mike Onwenu at right guard. Mike Onwenu at right tackle and Liam Robinson right guard. What are you doing? Maybe Jamondre Jacobs is not a great player. That's okay, and I agree with that. Jamondre Jacobs is not great, but Mike Onwenu is a significantly better guard than he is a tackle. Liam Robinson flat out stinks. Can't play. Right, as Bill Parcells would be. KP can't play. Right, fine. Right. And maybe he will get better. I don't know. But right now, what are you doing putting him out there? It makes no sense. You had some continuity for the first time. Everyone's healthy, and you mix it up for no reason. And then you got to bench him anyways because he sucks. That drove me insane. Just absolutely nonsensical by the coaching staff there.
Yeah. And I think to kind of recap what happened, it was, last week, you have that 5 offensive linemen. Lowe gets hurt, but practices. And the coaching staff this week talked about how they kind of said it was a no-sack day for the offensive line, that the sacks were either quarterback issues or they were, guys not getting open, things like that.
Yep.
To say that, and also they have said that, one of the issues they've had is a lack of continuity. To have everybody be healthy, to say all that stuff publicly about the offensive line, and then to, 1, change it at all, and to 2, insert a rookie right guard whose biggest issue has been pass protection against one of the better, interior pass rushers in the NFL, a guy that they highlighted all week long. Gerard Mayo started his press conference saying, Jeffrey Simmons, like, got to block him. You put Layden Robinson in there, he allows a pressure on like the 2 of the first 3 dropbacks of the game, and then gets a holding penalty in there because he can't block Jeffrey Simmons. What is the thought process? I don't understand that one bit.
Yeah, it makes no sense. And so it's just so frustrating. And you look at the, there are things that we can look at and we can sit there and say, hey, the Patriots did this or they did that, and they don't have the players right now, right? Defensively, especially, we look at it and say, defensively, we don't have the guy. And I get it, right? I understand. You got guys hurt all over the place. Your best defensive tackle is out. Your best linebacker is out. Your 2 best safeties are out. I understand all that, right? And I'm not necessarily begrudging the Patriots for that. However, you have to then coach around that, right? You didn't do that defensively, and you certainly didn't do it offensively. And I just don't why are we putting ourselves in a position where we are? And I feel like you intentionally put yourself in a position when you put Layden Robinson in there, you're intentionally putting yourself at a disadvantage before the game even starts. And your team is not good enough to do that. And that's frustrating. And the other one, and I know we'll get to it later on, but the other one is Jimmy J here. And I know in our group chat, our group chat, we're talking about this. Got to go for 2. You score a touchdown with 0 seconds left on the clock. Go for 2. Right? Win the game right there. That was my honest thought, because you got no time left to go in the game. The defense can't stop a nosebleed. The offense is fine, but you've had a billion penalties offensively, right? And so, it's one of those things where go for 2, try to win it right there. That's what I would have done, and I'm surprised that they didn't do the same thing.
Yeah. First of all, can you hear me right now? Because I'm having tech issues over here.
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. Yeah, I want to talk about the go for 2. I want to go back for a second and talk about what you were saying about just putting the players in the right position. I felt a lot better, and I think we all felt a lot better about this team after last week, in part because we saw the defense make adjustments from the first time they played Aaron Rodgers. They played a whole bunch of cover 2 against Aaron Rodgers the first time. He carved him up. They come back the second time, they make adjustments, and it's much better.
Yeah.
And the first drive of this game, it's they forgot every single thing. This team, for some reason, is insistent on playing cover 2 or some variation of 2 deep safeties whenever it can. I do not understand why. There's 2 reasons. There's a million reasons I can't understand why. One of them is that when you have a guy like Christian Gonzalez as a man corner, one of the reasons you draft him is you can play less cover 2, more cover 1. Now, the reason that's an advantage is that if you're playing cover 1, you have an extra body in the box to stop the run, or how about the quarterback, or double cover somebody, or whatever it is you want to do with that guy. He gives you that ability.
Right.
Number 2 is that, I think they could get away with the cover 2 scheme if they were healthier, because you have Christian Barmore, but they don't have him anymore. Which means if you're basically playing with 7 men or sometimes 6 men in the box instead of 8 like you could be, and when that happens, you need your run defenders to step up and to do more. These guys aren't capable of that. It's November 3rd. We are halfway through this season. I give them a pass for not knowing this when it's September. It is November. We've seen these issues all year long.
Right.
We know what the problems are with this personnel. We know what these guys aren't good at. Why are you insisting on a scheme that doesn't play to their strengths? And they eventually, I think, made some tweaks. We saw the defense improve throughout the game points, and because they did make adjustments. But I don't know why you have to see it in game to make the adjustments. We've seen it on the tape all year long.
Right. Well, and that's really what the big issue is, right? Is that you look at it and just say, you know what the problem is. You know what your defense can and can't do. And Christian Gonzalez, as he has all year long, is very good when he plays that tight man coverage. When he plays an off man coverage where he's got help in the middle and he's playing an outside trail technique, he just isn't that good when he does that. Not that he isn't that good. He isn't as good when he does that. And every single ball that Calvin Ridley caught today, when Gonzalez was near him, was him doing that exact same thing. Was Gonzalez playing that outside shade, Ridley faking outside and cutting inside. He's already got a step on Gonzalez because Gonzalez is playing outside trail technique as it is, and he's got no help in the middle of the field. And when he does have help in the middle of the field, like Jalen Hawkins, he's late, right? And Keegan Stiefel, our guy, tweeted out Jalen Hawkins leads the NFL in bone-crushing hits that mean absolutely nothing. Because he just, every time he hits a guy, it's like, oh, that was a good hit. Doesn't matter. The guy caught the ball or picks up the first down anyways. Or like you just like it means nothing. Nothing that the guy does has an impact at all. So it's frustrating to say the least. But it's just, the hard part is that you look at what they're doing and you just wonder, like, what the hell is going on here? And I just, it's so frustrating. And again, Gonzalez is your best defensive player by far. Just put him one-on-one. I don't know. Drives me nuts. No, now I lost you. No, now I can't hear you. And look, there's a lot of issues, right? Defensively. I know they don't have the guys and everything else. I get all that. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to make a play, right? And the fact that they can't make a play there is something that, I don't know. And again, it's like, it's 3rd and 8 and they're playing 10 yards off. Like, what are we doing? It drives me nuts.
Yeah. I think
now you're back.
Play that. Yeah. There we go. For some reason, my computer just decided it doesn't like my microphone anymore and it keeps turning it off on me. The play to me that like stood out, first drive of the game, it's 3rd and 12. You allowed 1 first down, but you get, You get a run stop for short yardage and a run stuff, negative yard. 3rd and 12, this is how you want to start the game off. We talked about this earlier this year. There's a big Evan Lazar thing that he had talked about, was that they would play cover 2-man defense. When you play cover 2-man defense, 5 defenders are in man coverage. They're going to have their backs to the quarterbacks. They're playing a guy. 2 safeties are going to be 20 yards down the field, 25, 30 yards down the field, which means you only have 4 pass rushers who also have to stop the quarterback if he runs. That's what they do on 3rd and 12.
Right.
Somebody vacates a lane somewhere.
Dietrich
Quarterback gets 13 yards or whatever it is. And it's like, I'm sorry, we've seen this all year long. They're not good at containing the quarterback in this situation. Why are we still doing this? They switched at one point this year. They switched to playing cover 1 in this situation with a 5-man rush, with the 5th man being like Christian Ellis or whoever. And you just have him kind of stand there on the ball and spy the quarterback. So if he starts to run, he's going to get sacked.
Right. If
they do that there, you're getting off the field and you're getting the ball, in a much better field position. Like, it's frustrating to have that kind of stuff happen, even late in the game. There's a 3rd and 1 that Tennessee had. They were playing cover 2 on it. I was like, why are we playing cover? Why do we not have an extra safety walked up? It's 3rd and 1, and I don't think it was the difference. But
still.
And then and then you get to overtime, and it was just like at that point the defense had made the adjustments. I don't think anything was schematic at that point. It's just the players aren't good enough. This defensive line is not good enough. These guys are gassed. They don't have the stamina, which is also a concern. Where did take them to the hill go? You got taken to the hill in overtime today.
Sure did.
Had to use 2 timeouts in overtime just to help your defense relax. And, eventually you get a stop because they fumbled the ball because they're not good. But man.
Well, and that's, and part of the issue, and not that it matters, but part of the issue is that, there were 3 fumbles today, right? 2 by the Patriots and 2 by the Titans and 1 by the Patriots. And the Titans recovered all 3 of them. And it's just like, that just sucks. Like, it's just bad luck, right? Jermichael Hasty's got to be able to fall on that football. He's got to be able to fall on that football. And on the kickoff to start overtime, Brendan Schooler absolutely annihilates the return man. And it just so happens that the blocker is just next to the guy. So when he fumbles, it doesn't even hit the ground. The what's it called? for God's sakes. The people announcing, the announcer crew, didn't even notice, which they weren't,
Oh,
they weren't great anyways.
so wait, it wasn't. It was four fumbles in the last 7 minutes and change of regulation plus overtime, because there's the Drake May fumble, and they forced a fumble on the punt.
That's right.
Yep, they forced a fumble on the opening kickoff, which I wasn't sure was a fumble because the announcers never once mentioned what happened.
But it was definitely a fumble. Now I don't know.
I checked the box score. It says fumble.
Okay, well there you go. Yeah.
And then the Titans fumble a snap on their last offensive play on that 3rd and whatever near the goal line.
Yeah. And you just and right. So there's 4 fumbles, and they recovered every single one of them. And you just at a certain point, it's the ball doesn't bounce your way, unfortunately, but you have to be able to overcome the fact that the ball doesn't bounce your way, right? You got to be able to, just hypothetically now, if you have a guy like Ramondre Stevenson and he runs the ball 10 times, you'd like to see him get more than, 16 yards or something like that. I don't know why I brought that up, but that's right, because that was his freaking stat line today. 10 carries for 16 yards. 10 carries for 16 yards. That's disgusting. And I don't care how good their defensive line is. I don't care. That's absolutely embarrassing.
If you can't hit, even 30 yards on the ground would be embarrassing.
Right.
This line is just not it. And I do understand why they put in Robinson, because I think they were trying to control the ground game, but he couldn't do he's not good enough. It was a run blocker to do that. Right. And this is one of the things that we talked about last year. And him not being guaranteed a spot on this team. He's a good enough run blocker. He also has the pass block issues. Well, he's regressed as a run blocker this year too.
Yep.
So now you're in a spot. Michael Jordan is an okay pass blocker, has no push against the run. Ben Brown has gotten, I think, exposed a little bit with more time. And every option they have at right guard, not named Michael Onwenu, is just not NFL caliber right now. So the fact that I get some of this personnel, we can get in the offense. I have my complaints with Alex Van Pelt as a play caller right now, but also when you have an offensive line that's in this state that can't run block at all and really can't pass protect either, there is only so much you can do. By the end of the game, it was basically we're just going to drop back pass. No, Drake May can do it, because that's really all there is to it. But it's just not, these players just not good enough.
Yeah, it's just no, they're not. And look, my hope is that Caden Wallace, can come back and be healthy, and maybe we can give him a shot at right tackle. I don't know, but at the same time, it's just we want to. And Josh is saying we shouldn't have expected this team to win a lot of games, and no, we understand that, right? This team stinks, and we know this team stinks, right? Get it, totally get it. But at the very least, you want to be able to you want to see them be able to compete. And they haven't even, you're not even giving them a chance to do anything, right? They're just getting killed out there.
Yeah.
And, that's where it gets frustrating.
Yeah, and that's the thing, big picture wise, I don't mind them losing this game. The road game, Tennessee is a tough physical team. It's about as good as you.
Right.
And it's not like the Patriots forced this game to overtime. They were competitive. The Patriots have had a number of these games. Seattle game in week 2 also comes to mind. Miami game in week 5. These games that they're competitive, it's just not good enough to get over the hump. And that's fine, because this team isn't very talented right now. It isn't very good. We know that they have to get better. You would hope that they would be better, because some of the young players would be stepping up. They'd be closer to being where they need to be right now, which is frustrating. To me, it's just the schematic errors that bother me. Penalties, like Kendrick Bourne, Keon White with penalties. They had a ton of penalties all game today. I don't remember the number off the top of my head.
I think they had 9.
Yeah.
I think they had 9 penalties, and Tennessee had 10.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah, and Keon White got very lucky that he didn't have another game with 2 15-yard penalties, because on that exchange, there's a whole exchange. You probably should have drawn 3 personal fouls and didn't get a single flag in the backfield, but he absolutely got hands to the face on Mason Rudolph after he threw a ball and got lucky not to get flagged there.
Yeah.
Which Tennessee threw a punch after that too, and that should have been
I
automatic. I don't know how
yeah.
you missed that, but it's just dumb stuff. Bryce Behringer with a couple bad punts today. Yeah, it's just a
Yeah.
lot of poor execution in big moments, except for end of game, which is like I mean, I guess the nice thing with this team right now is that they've kind of continuously put themselves in spots where they can win the game. They just haven't done it outside of, last week in the Cincinnati one. Like that game against Seattle, they could have won. Miami game, they
Yep.
could have won. Really, not the Jacksonville one, but there's a world where they have 3 more wins on this season with just 2 or 3 plays going
Yeah.
easy.
And which is true. The tough thing is that you want to see them pull out those wins, right? Like
Yeah.
you just want to see them pull out those victories, and you feel like they're there and they have enough to do it. But you look at it and say like, yeah, they're not good enough, right? And and look, you want to second guess the last interception by Drake May. I got no problem with it. I don't know why he's throwing that down the field.
He talked about this in the press conference. So after our ad break, we can circle back and talk about this.
Okay. All right. So let's do that. You want to do the ad break now, and then we'll come back to that?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
All right, cool. So the ad, of course, comes from me. It is Prize Picks. So Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Now, Prize Picks, where is it? I'm sorry. So Prize Picks puts their members first. So all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. And they now offer Venmo for easy deposits and withdrawals, which is pretty nice. Now, you know that my picks have been horrendous this year. However, this week, is it more of the same? It is, unfortunately, more of the same. I was so close. James Cook, I wanted James Cook, I had him getting more than 86.5 rushing plus receiving yards. He only got 69. Nice. HN had more than 34.5 receiving yards, and Kirk Cousins had less than 33.5 passing attempts, but unfortunately, it didn't get me there. So, but that's the way it goes. But what you're going to do with Prize Picks is you're going to sign up today. You're going to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. What you're going to do is put in the promo code CLNS. So you are going to put in the promo code CLNS, download Prize Picks, put in the promo code CLNS, and you will get $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Again, you do not have to win to receive the $50 bonus. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right. Okay. Nope, still can't hear you. So anyways, I think as you're trying to figure that out, we'll pivot to the Drake May discussion at the end. I think the not going for the 2-point conversion to me is inexcusable. I understand. I get it, right? I understand why you play for overtime and you just did it and everything else like that. But to me, win the game right there. Just win the game. Right. And maybe you don't have to play for it. Maybe you feel like your offense is exhausted and they're gassed, they got nothing left. I don't know. But I just feel like you've had a hard time stopping them. You've had a hard time putting together long drives because you've had a billion turnovers. And so to me, I just think like, go for it, and you win or lose right there. That's what I would have done. So, but not what they do.
Mayo didn't get into this, so I'm not. It's tough. I would have
Did
gone
anyone ask
for
him?
Yeah, no, they asked. He didn't give an answer. I would have gone for it, especially knowing what your defense was. I wonder if the offense was so exhausted that they were worried about just not being able to execute there. They only got that play. They only got the score they did to force overtime off of crazy stuff.
That was a wild play.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch the tape on this one, but like, not an inspiring performance from the wide receivers. I can tell you that much.
Nope.
Except for Kendrick Bourne had a couple nice plays. Demario Douglas had one great catch.
Yep.
I thought the rest of the good, and Hunter Henry obviously was really solid for them. Most of the stuff though was May creating plays. So yeah, I don't blame them for not trusting those guys to execute in that circumstance the way that drive went. The problem is you're gonna have to execute at some point. You have to score again if you want to win the game.
Correct.
So if you're that concerned about your team's ability to execute offensively, you should prefer to want them to do it for just one play than ask them to string together a whole bunch.
That's correct. And that's yeah.
The only factor for me in this is that Tennessee has been very turnover prone, and maybe they thought if Tennessee gets the ball back, we might force a turnover, or if we get a stop, we'll get a big punt return to set up a drive the way they did at the end of regulation, and then you might only need a field goal. So
right, which is true.
And they forced 2 fumbles in overtime. They were very close to that decision paying off there. I would have gone for 2 personally. I think that's probably not the deciding factor in this game. I think the deciding factor in this game was that the coaches did not put them in a good position early, and the players did not do enough to execute in a lot of key moments.
Right.
And speaking of that, so I wanted to we can talk about the interception to end the game. So I watched the replay of it with what Drake May said. He said it was a bad decision. He said the issue was he underthrew it. He was throwing into the wind, and he just wasn't thinking enough about that. So my first viewing of the play, I thought he didn't see the safety that came over and picked it off. It's pretty clear when you watch it back. He sees the safety the whole time. He thinks he's putting it over his head for the touchdown, and it just comes up 10, 15 yards short of where he thought it was going to go. So I think that is that's his 54th drop back of the game in overtime into the wind. I think that is just a learning moment for him of what he's physically capable of in that moment.
Can I ask a follow-up question to that?
Mm-hmm.
How on God's green earth are the Patriots going into the wind? They lost the toss.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a great question.
How are they going into the wind? It was a wind game. It's a 13-mile-an-hour wind. What the hell are you doing?
That's a very good question right there.
That's disgusting. That makes me even more upset, to be completely honest with you, because, I just fine. If that's the case, maybe he was throwing the wind, and that's fine. But the fact that they didn't have the wind at their back in overtime, you get to choose, and they chose to play into the wind. That's stupid. That's crazy.
Maybe they got it, and it's maybe May is just saying that.
I certainly hope he's not just making things up. If that's the case.
Well, he might also not have. Heat of the moment. He might just.
I guess
think this is what happened, but he might not be sure. I don't know. But yeah, that's. I will say I did at first think it was a situation where he never saw a defender, which is always concerning. And it appears that the actual situation was he just, was trying to cash a check that his body, or was right to check his body couldn't cash in that situation. Which is, you're losing games because you're putting the entire game on your number 3 overall pick, and he is your entire offense all game and just can't get the last thing. Not gonna get upset about that.
Right.
I will say,
and that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
The first pick had a lot of Mac Jones to it, which is a little concern. Under pressure throw where you totally miss an underneath defender.
Off your back foot.
Yeah. The thing that's nice, the thing that makes me less concerned is that I think that's the first time we've seen May really do that, where he's just totally missing that there's a defender there. It was happening under pressure. I think that's just these all seem like learning things. If this becomes a repeat thing, we'll get concerned about it. But the only thing to me I think that was concerning was on the fumble, because it was him trying to extend a play, and he's in the pocket or run with the ball, and he has only one hand on the football. It's that situation, you want the 2 hands on the ball so that if a guy hits you from behind,
I agree.
The ball's not going.
What I think, at least, and I might be wrong about this, I think that he was trying to get it to Hasty, who was out there.
Yeah.
And as he was going to lift his arm is when he got hit, is what it looked like to me. But, I don't know. He didn't feel Arden Key behind him. And, I mean, look, people blamed Vidarian Lowe on that play. He had time. He went through all of his reads and then got out of it. So it's not as though he got beat clean. Yeah, that sack on Lowe probably, but it's not like it was an egregious sack by or an egregious missed block by him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and it's like that's a play that I think you want to see better from Vidarian Lowe. The fact that you're allowing that is to a degree the difference between a guy who's a band-aid at left tackle versus a fix at left tackle.
Right.
But the fact that that play goes from a sack into a fumble is on Drake May,
Yep.
and the fact that it goes from a fumble into a lost fumble is based on horrendous bounce and Jermichael Hasty completely misreading the way the ball was going to bounce.
Yeah.
And I mean, he dove in like the one spot where he couldn't recover the fumble,
which
I was mystifying.
I didn't understand because it may have not been a great bounce, but you can see what's happening. You can watch the ball bouncing towards you. Like it should have been, I thought, at least a fairly easy recovery by him. And he just, it's almost like he dove straight at it. I would have liked to him kind of dive kind of to the side and cradle it almost like a fetal position type of thing. But I mean, I don't know, but that's what I would have done if that was me. But look, man, it's just, there's a million reasons why it's frustrating to lose a game like this. First of all, the Titans are terrible. I know the Patriots are a bad team. I know the Patriots are bad, right? I know that they're bad. But in 2 out of the last 3 games, you've lost to 2 of the worst teams in the NFL. I mean, this team got flat out embarrassed last week. And I know that they got embarrassed. I know it was the Lions. I get that. They got straight up embarrassed last week. Not like, oh, it was good. No. That's like, it was like one of the worst games anyone's ever seen last week. And, to go into Tennessee and play the way they did is just like, come on, man. Like you just feel like, they're not ready or they're not prepared or whatever. But it's just, that's really frustrating for me to see them play, against a team like this poorly.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. It's just got to be better. It's like they held them to 20 points. It was in overtime. The defense forced fumbles. It was a competitive game. Like for all of the surface level things, I think you could be okay with the outcome, even though it isn't what we would like to see from this group.
Right.
But the fact that you're allowing 400 yards, 167 yards on the ground.
Yeah.
The 8 penalties
to Tony Pollard. Tony flipping Pollard, dude.
Yeah, it's the way it's the fact that for large sections of this game they were clearly outcoached. One thing we didn't talk about here at all, fortunately didn't really come up, that the game ended up whether they were going to get the ball back in regulation came down to a 3rd down stop.
Yeah.
The reason it came down to that specific 3rd down stop is because the Patriots only had 2 timeouts instead of 3 timeouts when they were trying to be in a situation. They had to call a timeout on a punt return earlier in the game, I believe, because they didn't have enough players on the field.
Yeah.
And special teams did some good stuff today, some really big returns to set them up offensively. So I shout out to Marcus Jones. But you have a missed field goal. This is actually now the 2nd time that they have lost an overtime game this year where they had a missed field goal in regulation. Putting that out there. Some really poor timing there. We have a missed field goal. You burn a timeout, which that timeout would have helped you on the final drive.
Sure would
have. Just really frustrating game management stuff there. They did not come into this game with the correct approach. And I think as a general statement, a lot of what we have seen from this team, whether it be front office, coaches, whatever, I think they have generally made the right adjustments, whether it's roster construction, being able to move off of guys and find new ones who can be contributors, or the coaches finding things schematically that work for you. But the starting point has not been correct on a lot of this stuff. Like their game plan to start this game stunk. What are you doing? We know this doesn't work. Why are you doing this? It became very clear pretty early on that like they could not run the ball, and yet they kept trying to run the ball at points.
Yeah.
Um,
Incredibly
and it was, yeah, and it was, and I think part of this we can talk about. Let's talk about the before the half sequence.
Yep.
2 quick passes to Kendrick Bourne. One moves the chains, the other one's a 9-yard gain. I don't hate a run call on second down there because of the timeouts and everything. Like wanting the fact that it's 2nd and 1, your expectation is we can get the clock moving, so Tennessee's not going to get the ball back, and we'll easily pick up the first. The problem is that your guys can't block it at all. And then third down. I mean, I have no objection to them running on 3rd and 1 in that situation, and they go heavy personnel with City So as a fullback, 6 offensive linemen. Your guys can't execute it. I think in hindsight, you would very obviously say they were throwing the ball well at that point. Let's throw. And maybe they got a little too cute with it. But, I mean, also, if you can't pick up a single yard in back-to-back carries in that situation, one of them when the defense is expecting you to pass, the other one when you're heavy personnel,
right?
Something's wrong with the players.
Sure is.
And that's like it's a failure on all fronts. I believe the coaching needs to be criticized. They're not just play calling, but the guys can't do what they need to do. And also, these players are not good enough. Cole Strange, please get back because you're going to be an asset to this team in whatever shape that you're in. And I mean, how many of these offensive linemen do we think we're going to make the initial 53-man roster next year?
Not many. Not many, I can tell you that much. And Michael Jordan has been fine, but he's not good. Right?
He on a good team, he is your like 9th offensive lineman, and he is a starter for you right now.
Right.
Like he is. If for this offensive line to be good next year, like I think Vidarian Lowe would make the 53s, at least a backup tackle, no matter what you do. Wenu is on it. David Andrews, if he doesn't retire, is probably gonna be on it. I would assume.
You would assume, yeah.
And
Caden Wallace, right? Or did you say Caden Wallace?
Yeah, Caden Wallace, because he was drafted high enough this year. I mean, I'm not. I wouldn't assume City So makes it. Michael Jordan, Ben Brown. I wouldn't assume Layden Robinson, the guy they drafted this year.
No.
Like the caliber of play they're getting is just not good enough from these guys. And for this to be a good unit next year, you're gonna have to have some a very good offseason, smart additions. And you're also probably going to need the coaching staff to develop some of these guys into something better than what they are right now, because you need some of these guys to be at least half decent backups for you, right?
Well, and I think Vidarian Lowe has progressed pretty well, right, which is good.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's necessarily a starting running back, starting left tackle, right? Maybe he's a good backup or a good swing tackle, but I just don't. I don't. Even though he's progressed, which is good, he's gone from not playable to playable, which is good, right? And that's a good thing. But I also think too that you have to be able to be a little bit better than he is, and you need a better left tackle than he is, and you don't have that right now. Right tackle Demontre Jacobs is he's fine. He's not very good, but he's fine. Mike Onwenu has been decent at right guard. You need a new center. Ben Brown's, he's okay. He just, it's just so frustrating. And that's the hard thing, is that it's not, when you look at the Patriots, it's not one guy. It's 40 guys. You know what I mean? Like that's the hardest part, is that it's not, it's not that, it's not, one or two guys and we'll be okay. No. It's like 25 to 30 guys that you have to replace on this team. And so you got a long, long way to go. Long way to go. And you can blame Wokio all you want, as Edward will absolutely do. But when you leave the roster in shambles the way Belichick did, no matter who took over, this is what the path was going to have to be.
Starting from the ground floor. And, I will say, it's intimidating to have to replace that many players. One, what's going to help with that, you played today, obviously, with no Barmore and no Kyle Duggar,
Right.
which hurts you defensively. I don't know how much that
And no
changes in a
Juwan
game like this. Oh, no, yeah, no Juwan Bentley. 3 guys up the middle who instantly are going to transform your run defense once they're back. So projecting into the future, I don't think the run defense is going to be this bad next year. The coaching defensively also needs to be better to maximize the guys they have. The other thing about like the 20 to 30 guys they need to replace, which they definitely will need to over the next year, 2, 3 years, some of those guys are backup players. Some of this is just making your depth guys better. Making your depth guys better can happen because guys who are already in the building improve with good coaching, which you would hope to see.
Yeah.
If the coaching is good, you will see that naturally. The other part of this is, if you want to sign a backup guard, you can do that in a free agency. You can find that guy. If you want to address off-ball linebacker, you can do that in free agency. If you want to address depth at corner, you can do that. A lot of these depth spots where they might need guys, that's a defensive tackle. You can address that in free agency and have that fixed for week 1 next year without even spending a lot of money to address it. You're not like there's going to be guys available, or you can hit the trade market or draft guys. Those are easier to fix.
Yeah.
The hard part is that this is something I forgot to get into when we were talking about the defense earlier. They keep insisting on playing zone coverage. If you're going to play zone coverage, you need a good pass rush because you need to be able to confuse the quarterback and make him feel like he's under pressure, so he's rushing his judgments on what the coverage is. They don't have that right now. Keon White, I think has shown something. He can beat up bad offensive linemen at least. He can win one-on-ones. He's at least solid out there. You know that you have a stud in Barmore whenever he comes back. But you need more juice at pass rusher. To me, defensively, that is an absolute necessity for next year. And obviously the offensive line is a necessity, but depending on how the draft plays out, if this team decides that taking an edge rusher with their first pick is the way to go, that's not going to upset me one bit. I think that is clearly a need for this team right now. And then wide receiver, we're going to have to watch the tape on this one, but nobody really looks that good at receiver. Like we said it before.
What did Jalen Polk play? 12 snaps and had two penalties.
Hey, at least he got called for holding, so at least he could grab something this time.
That's right, baby. Woo! And it's just, which is frustrating. And so you're right. There's a long way to go. By the way, Ashley, if your takeaway from this game is that Drake May is not a good player, your head needs to be examined. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, sure. So we haven't talked about it at all. Let's talk about the last drive and the last play there with Drake May in regulation.
Yes. The outrage.
Herculean effort of him. He put the team on his back.
Sure did.
Get into the end zone there. Walk me through your thought process as that final play was unfolding.
Man, I'll tell you, I was watching the play, and I think I said it was the greatest play in the century, I think is what I said. But when you look at the play, Next Gen Stats said that Drake May scrambled for 11.82 seconds before finding Mondre in the back of the end zone. And my dog had just come in from outside. And she was flipping out because I was like jumping up and down, like, what the hell's going on? It was wild. It was wild. The fact that they got there, the fact that they were there, they got all the way down there. They did a really nice job. And I'll tell you, really him being able to extend the play like that, running around, going crazy, and just chucking it ultimately, right? Just chucking it. Right. And it was awesome. It was awesome. And that's exactly the type of thing that you want to see from a guy like Drake May, because he can make those plays where you think there's just no way. There's no way. I'm watching it saying there's no way he can possibly pull this off. Then, right? He just like Arden Key left his jock strap on the field, dude. He just absolutely unbelievable play by him. And so, it was really one of those kind of wild things. You know what I mean? By the way, I'm watching this game. Not that there are fantasy implications as well. I find, but Kyler Murray just did a play fake at the goal line, at the 1 yard line. He had Trey McBride by himself in the back of the end zone. I mean, like, there was not
That's
a single
crazy.
other person in the end zone other than Trey McBride,
Crazy.
and he didn't throw it to him. And then he scrambled away. There was still no one within 8 yards of the end zone of Trey McBride, and he threw it 10 yards over Trey McBride's head. It was like, what are you doing, dude?
That's hilarious.
So anyways, I just look, and by the way, to say that Drake got outplayed by Mason Rudolph is an absolute ridiculous take, dude. Absolutely ridiculous take. Like Mason Rudolph was fine today. Don't sit there and tell me he outplayed Drake May. It's outrageous.
Mason Rudolph made, I think, one wow play, which is that third down conversion in overtime when he was getting hit and still delivered the throw. That was a really good play. May outplayed him in this game. May was the entire New England offense.
Right.
Yeah, I want to talk about that last play regulation, but to me, I think the foreshadowing for it in some ways was the second play of that drive, the first down they picked up to Kayshon Boutte, where May, I think, was throwing it on the move. It's into a tiny window. They never showed it.
Dude.
They never showed a good replay of it on.
No, they didn't.
The broadcast. So the all 22 of that, I think, is going to be nuts. But just a tiny window, throwing a dude open, finding a way, and that was
on the run.
On
the run.
That was the foreshadowing to that. Which, side note, we talked about accuracy issues with Drake May, and I feel like with every single game, the accuracy has been less of an issue.
Yes.
He throws some dimes out there every single day.
Yeah,
but that last play, when you're in a situation like that, that it's probably going to be a very short play or a very long play.
Right.
Because either your first read's going to be open, you're going to hit it in structure, it's going to be bang, you're in or you're not. And so you're looking for that. And the second that, he's not hitting that first or second read on it, it's all right. Now you're just trying to keep it alive as long as you can and find something.
Right.
Remember we were talking last week about the Hail Mary in the Bears game?
Yep.
And I said that I would always blitz on a Hail Mary because you don't want them to have that much time to do it. Titans rush 3. Eventually, more guys end up coming and forcing the throw, but May gets 11 seconds to figure out where to go with that ball because the Titans sit back with 8 in coverage.
Right.
Which is why things were blanketed.
Yep.
But May's ability to evade pressure there was ridiculous. It might have been Arden Key or whatever.
It was Arden Key, yeah.
From behind, stepping up and avoiding him, keeping his eyes down the field. And when I saw 2 guys closing in on him, I was like, man, that stinks. We're going to lose this game. That's brutal. They just held it too long and couldn't find anything. That's fine.
Yeah.
And he throws the ball, and I think even on the broadcast, the feeling was almost like he's throwing it away, like he's just tossing it into the end zone. And for that to be a perfect strike to a running back across the field, for him to catch the ball for a touchdown was insane.
Yep.
When that comes, if we're talking about the athleticism of a Patriots quarterback to make a play, unless Cam Newton had something like that in, in 2020 that I don't remember. He might have had one in that Jets game on Monday Night Football, actually.
Yeah,
that's one of the most athletic plays we have seen from a New England quarterback in a long, long time.
Absolutely. It was the most rushing yards by Patriots quarterback since what's it called? Grogan, right? In 77. So
yeah,
pretty good.
Well, and just that last play, because it's not just the athleticism; it's functional athleticism.
Right.
He's not a dude running around. He's not shaking, running around with his head cut off. He is avoiding pressure while sensing pressure, reading the field, and making an accurate throw. Unbelievable, amazing stuff. The Patriots lost this game. Yeah, it stinks. Yeah, this team is still far away from where they need to be. Yeah, they might not have the coach. They might not have the GM. They might not have the coordinator. But I think they have the quarterback, and that's the hardest piece to find.
All right, listen. Let's take our last ad break, and then we'll go from there. Before we do, I gotta say, Simba, thanks for watching, bro. Thanks for the view. Appreciate you, buddy.
Oh, I love it. All right, let's talk about game time. right here. NBA season is here. If you guys didn't see, the Celtics picked up 2 wins over the Hornets with the Grant Williams situation. Chaos there, but entertaining as always. And the Celtics got more home games coming up this week against they're playing the Warriors, and I forget the other game. With Game Time picks, you can find the best, cheapest seats for these games, filtering out the fluff with no issues. You go onto their website, onto their app, you're going to see that it'll highlight the cheapest seats for you. It's going to highlight the best value seats in the arena for you to make it really easy to just, figure out where it is that you want to sit for the best price. You can set all in pricing, so the price you see, the price you're going to pay. When you click on it, it's going to show you what the view is going to be from your seat. It makes the entire process super easy. So, I highly recommend it. And, they have a lowest price guarantee, or they're going to credit you with 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
All right. Love it. Okay. Cool.
I don't know what you'd want to talk about in this last part, but can I just preemptively talk about a point of anxiety for this game next week?
In a second, the one thing I did want to point out, Drake May mentioned, because we talked about the 2-point conversion, going for 2 at the end of the game. Drake May did talk about it. Drake May, this is from Mike Reese, if he lobbied Gerard Mayo to go for 2 after the TD at the end of regulation. He said, "Shoot, I was just trying to catch my breath. I couldn't even think about it. I think just looking back on it, it's easy to say we're out there that long on such a high intensity drive. I think it's hard to go for 2. I think it's easy to look back and say that now our defense is fresh and coming out in overtime trying to get a stop. They did a good job running the football today." So, I can look at that and say I understand what he's talking about, but at the same time, I still wish they had gone for it. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So, all right, preemptive worry for you next week.
We just talked about how this team can't contain quarterbacks or for whatever reason early in the game decides that they're going to play a defense. It means you can't contain a quarterback. They're going to play Caleb Williams next week.
It's not great.
That's like the worst. Like that's not who you want to play when that's your issue. They need to get that wrapped up in a hurry. I think with Drake May playing the way he played today, the offensive line giving him any time at all, offensively, they always have a chance to make a play. They always have a chance to stay in the game. Defensively, from drive to drive, I have no faith in them. And Chicago's offense hasn't been anything spectacular. So maybe tendency-wise, they can drill down and schematically do some stuff this week. Yeah, they have to, because if they play the same kind of vanilla defenses that they've been playing, like it's a preseason game all year long, right, they're going to get killed next week. They might give up 30 points to a Bears offense that has been All
right, I've had enough.
We're removing people from the chat.
Yeah, I'm all set. We say whatever you want to us. You start calling out the people and everything. I'm all set. See you later, buddy. So no, you know what? Honestly, it becomes a situation for me that I agree with you 100%. It's going to be scary. I'm going to be there in person. And so I'm like a little nervous about it because, and one thing I will say is Caleb Williams doesn't run as much as other people do. But he's still very athletic. And, the Patriots have had a really hard time stopping that type of play. And Mason Rudolph isn't athletic at all. And they had a hard time stopping that today, early on in the down. One thing I will tell you is that I thought that the Patriots got a little screwed in overtime. Tavai clearly got held on that third down play, and I don't understand what you're doing. How do you miss that? There were a few calls I didn't understand. So
yeah, but that was another play where they were playing too deep.
It made no sense.
Which I did say earlier, I thought they fixed things mostly in overtime schematically, but there were still a couple of plays. You're getting worked on the ground in overtime.
Yeah.
Sell out. If they beat you through the air, they beat you through the air. Commit to stopping the run because you are actively, these are the 1,000 paper cuts right now. You are actively dying from them. If they get you with a knife later, they get you with a knife later, but you got to stop that bleeding right now. And, they eventually did, but it took, until an easy field goal took most of the time off the clock in overtime. And they only didn't get that last first in part because they fumbled the snap because there was a backup center in the game. This is a bad Titans offensive line, too. This is a bad line. They're better running blocking than they are pass blocking, but that just...
Yeah, it's not good. And so that's, what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's, if we look towards the trade deadline this week, in additions that they could make, if there's a defensive tackle out there that they can add, I said it last offseason. This is, I think, one area where I wish the team was more aggressive. I wanted them to go out and get like a Christian Wilkins or somebody like that.
Yeah.
Why? Because I said that when you have a strength, which was defensive tackle at that point with Christian Barmore, sometimes it pays to double down on it, to become so good at your one strength that, you're just, if the game comes down to that position group, you're always going to win. You're always going to be solid up the middle. I know Wilkins isn't the best run defender, but with the money they had, I would have loved to go out and sign a guy like him. He'd be incredibly helpful for them right now. And, with Barmore, that would be an elite duo up the middle. They wouldn't be in this spot.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if there's going to be a player of that caliber available, this offseason as a pass rusher. So we'll see how the market unfolds, but it's tough.
Also, Taylor was saying that, he would have wanted the Patriots to throw a bag at Saquon Barkley. And I don't know if you saw that run that he had after the catch. Holy mother of God.
Oh, yeah.
That was an incredible play. And it's just one of those things where, like, I understand, like, I get that, the Patriots, like, what you don't really want to spend a ton of money on a running back. I understand that. They did spend a good amount of money on a running back, right? Ramondre Stevenson. And Ramondre is great. I love Ramondre. He's not half of the running back that Saquon Barkley is. And so I would have been happy for them doing that. But, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So
I think that's all I got on this one. I'm sure I'll have more thoughts for our week.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it on Wednesday. But anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it. As always, we'll be back Wednesday night. And we will go from there. All right. So anyways, one more thing. The election is Tuesday, as most people know. Okay. We're not talking about politics. I'm not going to do that. Okay. I will tell you that if you're overseas, you can't vote, obviously. But if you're in the United States, go out and vote, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Okay. Just go out and vote. I may not want you to vote for the person you're voting for, but like, it's your civic duty. People are, we always talk about the fact that people line up for hours and days in other countries to be able to vote. We have the ability to do that. It is our right to do that.
Yeah.
Go out and do it.
And if it's still something that's new to you and you're not comfortable voting this time around, take this as an opportunity to learn a little bit more, get yourself registered, engaged. So, there's elections every year. And the more involved you can be, you get to at least say that you have had your voice heard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right. Anyways, thanks everyone, and we will talk to you. We'll talk to you on Wednesday. All right. See ya.